Most people have no idea what's about to happen next. Trump just made an announcement, not about politics, but about power, and it could reshape how America works for the next decade. What if I told you that everything from the housing market to the job you have, and even the retirement you've been counting on, could shift because of this one move? Today, I'm going to break down what's really behind Trump's latest statement, the hidden chain reaction it's already triggering in Washington, and why even his critics are quietly preparing for what comes next. Let's start with what he actually said, because beneath the headlines, there's a much bigger signal most people missed. You know how sometimes you hear a news story and your gut tells you there's more going on than what's being shown. That's exactly what happened when Trump spoke to reporters on Air Force One. The cameras were rolling, questions were flying, and then he said something that made political insiders sit up straight. He didn't just criticize a member of his own party. That happens all the time. What he did was draw a line in the sand about who stays in his movement and who gets pushed out. The way he did it told a story far bigger than one person or one disagreement. The congresswoman in question was Marjorie Taylor Greene, someone who had once stood beside him at rallies, defending him when almost no one else would. But in recent months, she started breaking ranks, appearing on liberal networks, questioning his focus on foreign policy, and siding with Democrats on a few high-profile votes. Then came the final straw. She posted a screenshot of her private text exchange with Trump after he pulled his endorsement. For him, that was the ultimate act of disloyalty. Aboard Air Force One, he made it official. He mocked her, called her Marjorie Taylor Brown, said she had turned left, and made it clear she was out of the MAGA movement. Within hours, challengers were already gearing up to run against her in Georgia. But here's the thing, this wasn't really about her. It was about sending a message to every Republican in Congress: stay loyal, or this could be you next. When you control a political movement, loyalty isn't just preferred, it's required. And Trump was reminding everyone watching that he still controls that movement. Not the party establishment, not the media, not anyone else. At the same time, he redirected attention away from the weak new Epstein file leaks meant to smear him, calling the entire narrative a hoax. Then he pivoted to what he said really matters: affordability, the cost of living, and putting Americans first. That was the chess move. Think about how that works in real life. Imagine someone's trying to make you look foolish by bringing up past mistakes. You have two choices. Spend all your energy defending yourself, letting them control the conversation, or acknowledge it briefly and immediately shift to what you're doing now and planning for the future. The second strategy doesn't let them set the terms. You do. That's what Trump did, and it's why so many political operatives, regardless of personal opinion, were taking notes. Why does this matter to you? Because beneath all the political theater, there's a story unfolding that affects every single person watching, especially if you're in or approaching retirement. If you've been to the grocery store recently, felt your retirement account stagnate, tried helping a grandchild find a home, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The systems we built our lives around, the promise that if you worked hard, saved smart, and played by the rules, you'd be secure, they're starting to crack. Mortgage rates have climbed to levels we haven't seen in over a generation. The house you bought decades ago for a reasonable price, young families today can barely afford half that. Retirement savings, even if they've grown on paper, don't buy as much as they should. Healthcare costs keep rising. Insurance premiums keep rising. Everything keeps rising, except the sense of security. Here's the emotional core the news rarely touches. You did everything right. You worked for decades, saved, sacrificed, put off vacations, and built something solid. And now, watching the value of that hard work feel less and less certain, it's not just financially frustrating, it's personally painful. It feels like the promise got broken somewhere along the way. Trump's announcement, for all its political noise, taps directly into that frustration. Whether you support him or not, his strategy positions him as the one willing to say out loud what many feel quietly. The system isn't working for regular people anymore, and something needs to reset. He's not the first politician to tap into that feeling, but the way he's doing it right now, combining personal power plays with economic messaging, sets up something bigger than just another election cycle. This announcement wasn't spontaneous, it wasn't off the cuff. When you look at Trump's entire political history, a pattern emerges. Think back to his first term. Tariffs that economists said would crash the economy, border policies sparking court battles and protests, chaos. But behind the noise, negotiations happened on his terms, conversations that were off. Limits before became part of Washington's dialogue. His strategy: create controlled chaos that forces everyone else to react on his timeline, not theirs. The latest announcement fits that pattern perfectly. By publicly cutting ties with a member of his own party while dismissing scandal attempts and pivoting to economic populism, he's created multiple pressure points at once. Republicans in Congress must choose sides. Democrats must rethink their strategy. Media outlets must decide what story to tell, knowing Trump is already 2 steps ahead. Here's the fascinating part: the silence. You'd expect non-stop coverage from an announcement this provocative, but some major media outlets are more measured, cautious. Some political insiders hedge their language. Some corporations stay neutral. Why? Behind the scenes, people are recalculating. Polls, economic indicators, voter sentiment, they're all making Washington rethink the narrative that Trump is fading. Think of it like poker. You've bet heavily that someone has a weak hand. Then they start raising, playing aggressively, showing no signs of backing down. Maybe you misread the table. You need to change strategy before losing everything. That's happening in Washington now. The silence isn't apathy, it's recalculation. Trump's economic messaging ties directly into this. He's talked about bringing manufacturing back, using tariffs as negotiation tools, confronting how much of our economy has been outsourced. Whether it's realistic or not, it resonates with millions who have watched jobs disappear overseas and communities hollow out. He's promising to reclaim what many feel was lost. Even if he succeeds, it won't matter unless people believe it. And here's the bigger problem: the trust collapse. People no longer trust institutions. Media, government, healthcare, corporations. Once trust is gone, everything is filtered through suspicion. Even when someone tells the truth, it's doubted. Trump's existence rides on that collapse. His supporters don't trust him for morality. They trust him because he attacks the institutions they've lost faith in. In a world of fake polish, flawed authenticity feels real. This has enormous implications for leadership. Traditionally, leaders gain trust through expertise, consistency, dignity. Now, leaders gain trust by opposing the same institutions their supporters oppose. Trust is formed through shared opposition, not shared values. Trump's announcement is part of a bigger shift. The political drama is surface level. Underneath, it's a reshaping of power in America. Short term, expect volatility. Mark, it's hate uncertainty. Medium term, watch political realignment. Establishment vs. populist, insider vs. outsider. Long term, think about the fundamental restructuring of wealth, work, and independence. The promises of corporate careers, government safety nets, and rule following success are increasingly unstable. What comes next isn't predetermined. It could be better, it could be worse. It depends on whether people pay attention, make conscious choices, or react emotionally. Trump's announcement is a symptom and an accelerant of change. The old way of doing things is ending. We're in a messy transition. For you personally, adapt, stay informed, don't panic. Change creates opportunity and risk. People who thrive will stay curious, critical, connected, and independent thinkers. Trump's strategy positions him as a leader aware of change. Whether his plan succeeds or fails is debatable, but it's forcing America to face the transition. We're at another turning point where politics, economics, technology, and culture intersect in ways only a few times per generation. This announcement is more than theater, it's a mirror. It shows us what we fear, value, are willing to fight for, and what we might become if we stop paying attention. You've survived previous transformations. This next wave is coming. Adapt, engage, think for yourself. That's how we navigate what's next together.